Welcome to episode 11 of the Realtors. I'm David Blair. He's Trevin Perez. Trevin, how you doing today?
Hey, doing fantastic, brother. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So we survived the hurricane. All well in your neck of the woods?
Hey, okay. We're very happy to see it did not hit us. Did it come close to hitting you guys?
Not really. We had a little bit of wind in the middle of the night. I mean, I feel bad talking about how little we were impacted because I know some people were definitely impacted by it in the Gulf, and even it seems like it actually as it made its way through and it went up towards Atlanta and those areas, Tennessee. I think even it might have made it up in there that they got hit pretty hard. So hopefully, prayers go out to all the families. I know there was some people actually passed away in
Oh my
Georgia. There
God.
were like 3 or 4 deaths that they had because of it. So always something that we have to deal with, unfortunately, in our market area. And the strange thing is as busy as the hurricane season can get, it seems like this is the type of year that we always deal with a major storm. It seems like we get something that comes in late during the year, like a September, October timeframe, and here we are again. So
Yeah, very true. Very true.
not good stuff. Almost had a
Mhm.
closing actually that was impacted by it the other day. I don't know if we'll throw some trivia out there to some people, let them know that if you're closing on a property and if you haven't bound your insurance and you're within a certain parameter of the state of Florida, a named storm enters into that. Insurance companies will actually stop writing insurance policies during that time period until that storm completely dissipates and goes away. We've known about it, I think, for a while. If you're a newbie to the industry, you might not know that. You might want to make sure your buyers are well aware of that because it can delay some closings with that. We had one actually that the customer had bound their insurance, but what happened was we were closing on Tuesday of this past week. They had a 3-day right of rescission with the type of loan they were doing. So technically, we won't fund until Monday. And then there was a little bit of a debate regarding who was going to take care of the insurance on who actually owns the property.
Uh-huh.
My viewpoint on it, because I represented the buyer, was that, well, we don't own the property yet. We haven't funded yet, so technically they don't own it, even though they have insurance. Then the other selling side wanted to say, well, they signed closing docs that day, so we don't want to be responsible for it. No one wants to take any kind of responsibility if there's any kind of
The
damage to a
storm.
property. So I can kind
Exactly.
of understand on both sides. So hopefully that's the last one that we see of this year. Maybe you think we're getting kind of late in the season.
Yeah, yeah, you would hope so that this is it.
Yeah, yeah. I think the problem is the weather's just so warm. You get that warm climate like we have around the Gulf and the waters out in the Atlantic, and that's what still continues to push it in. So hopefully we're done with that. We're coming into next week is October.
Can
Man,
you
where did
imagine?
the year go?
Yeah, it's the time is going super fast.
Yeah. So talking about we're gonna actually talk about that a little bit today. Is the current market and where the market goes and what the changes are into the last quarter of the year. So in the last quarter of the year, we've got October, November, December, basically left in the real estate calendar of this year. So we want to talk a little bit about how each market is impacted, what the trends are, what buyers and sellers can kind of expect going into that last quarter of the year. So I'll go ahead and start off. For me,
Mhm.
October so I'll go on record. It's my favorite time of the year. It's absolutely my favorite time of the year. You've got Halloween, you've got Thanksgiving, you've got Christmas, and those rate pretty high. Probably in that order. Christmas is probably the highest. Although I am a big Halloween fan. Thanksgiving, I love that time. I love that time of the year. You have carnivals, fairs, different things like that are going on that type of the year. So it's a lot of fun. You've got football. I follow the Cowboys in case people can't tell behind me. Trevin, who's your team again, Trevin?
Hey, we're about to get canceled. This show is about to get canceled because last night the Cowboys decided, of all nights, when the Giants were playing their butts off, to take a win. They got a W over the New York Giants. So yeah. Gloat, enjoy. It won't happen again. Like Stephen A. Smith says, let's talk about those Cowboys. Oh my God.
For the record, everybody, we're not trying to segue. We're gonna stay on topic with real estate. But for the record, it's happened. That was 13 times in a row last night. So I mean, you say it's not going to happen again. It actually happens a lot. It happens pretty much all the time. It's a pretty much you can death, taxes, and the Cowboys kicking the shit out of the Giants. Those are the things that you can pretty much rely on happening on a regular basis. And last night for me, it's a loss. I take it as a loss. We beat you guys by 5 points.
Yeah.
And ironically, we were favored by 5.5, and the kicker misses a field goal at the very end. So some people in Vegas were either happy or pretty pissed off last night.
Yeah, we
depending
were
on which
ahead.
side, what
So
side
I
you
was
stand.
annoyed. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was annoyed about that.
exactly.
What are you going to do? We're in rebuild mode.
So back to October again. A lot of good things happening. So in real estate, what I find in my market is that it's a little bit of a transition month. We still have got we've still got buyers, of course, that are in the market. I'm gonna let you talk a little bit about the changes. We talked last week about the Fed adjusting their rate and what kind of impact that would have on interest rates, or has it had an impact yet? I think we're finding that it actually hasn't had that impact just yet. So we can kind of talk about that. But in my market here, it's still active. But when we get into that November, December time period, you have both sides, both the buyers and sellers start to really kind of think about, okay, do I want to be on the market during the holidays? Do I want to be looking for a home during the holidays? And what are our goals here? Or do we kind of table this thing and wait until we get to the beginning of next year and then just start fresh at that point? As realtors, we can't just necessarily say, okay, we're going to take the next 90 days off without pay, because that's what it would be. But so give me some of your thoughts on the time of the year and how it's affecting your business and your market.
Man, well, time of the year, I mean, it just gets slower from a sales perspective. It's not a pretty time, especially because the early part of this whole year has been capped by, inflation and just high interest rates. So the market has been on the slower side. It almost gives the illusion of it being a seller's market, but really buyers have been sitting back on the bench just waiting for improvements to come. So I feel the pressure. It's a crunch time. The fourth quarter is a slower time because of all the holidays. And I think that the way I always spin it to clients from a listing standpoint is, let's stand out among fewer houses on the market. So we're instead of being one of 100 or one of 200, let's be one of 50 that are just beautiful, spectacular, and is a great deal. A holiday deal that's waiting to happen. And so that's my outlook and optimism on the market, especially going into fourth quarter. It does go slower. All right. It's the seasonality of everything you just spoke on. Families are busy preparing for Halloween or Thanksgiving or Christmas. They don't want to deal with moving and closings and all of that horrible stuff, right? I just did photography for 2 listings that are hitting the market. And so today we did some photos, and we did photos yesterday at a different property. And the sellers are just so frustrated, with me nitpicking about different details. I'm like, hey, if you're going to pick the cabinets, let's do a good job, right? Let's not just splash and have like drips of paint or the tape that doesn't come right off neatly. So the challenge is getting the details right for what is on the market. Um, so that's my thoughts on it.
Well, I'm thinking as you talk here, so here's something that's kind of interesting, I think, is that, if you're a buyer and you're out looking at property this time of year and you're thinking of, I'm going to be I'm going to be in this home for, maybe the next 7 years, possibly, depending on if you have maybe you have kids, maybe you don't. But there's some important things, I think for the seasonality when you're looking as well. So let's say, for example, you have kids and they're really into Halloween or things like that. There are some really, I don't know how it is in your area, but here there are some neighborhoods that are just absolutely over the top with trick or
Hmm.
treating and things like that. And it's just a fun neighborhood to be in. If you have kids,
Yeah.
I mean, you'll have, we're in one of those neighborhoods to where there's a lot of kids that come by. I mean, we've got to buy like 20 pounds of candy. I'm giving out ham sandwiches at the end of the night because we're out. I'm giving
Right.
Pop Tarts, whatever I have left in the fridge. Here's a chicken wing kid. Beat it. So
Yeah.
there's some fun things that you can do, and those things I think are kind of interesting. So we both talked about you've got a couple new listings come up. I signed a couple today, or actually that are going to be on the market going into this last quarter. So I think that's some of the things that I'm going to kind of try to focus on as well, is if that pertains to that particular neighborhood. Like I said, whether it's just Halloween, whether it's Thanksgiving, Christmas is kind of one of those sentimental, I guess, type months to where that can kind of be evoke some emotion, with a buyer of, hey, we're going to spend this, we're going to spend the next, 7-10 years, whatever the case is, doing family Christmas and Thanksgiving dinner and things like that in the home. So we're gonna maybe add that to the marketing. I think this month, I think it comes into
Oh
play.
yeah.
Now that doesn't mean that when you do photos that you need to have your Christmas lights up or your Halloween decorations out front. You can't do
Yes.
that still. You can't do that.
Right.
So we got to do pictures now before then so that you can decorate later on and you can throw your giant skeleton out, on the lawn and all that other good stuff. So that's
Exactly.
just,
Let me ask you a question, David. Have you ever I've tried in the past. We have an active community for
mhm.
Halloween and trick-or-treaters. And what we did is we prepared little baggies and I
Yeah,
put my real estate sticker on each baggie. And I'm
yeah,
thinking, man, I'm gonna get all these kids' parents to contact me.
yeah,
And it was a lot of effort. It was fun.
mhm,
It was for a great
yeah,
cause, but like
mhm,
not one follow up, one call, one lead, one
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the kids were around the corner pulling your card off, and
Oh,
throwing
stabbing
it in the
me.
ditch, and then they just ate the Twizzlers or whatever you attached to it. So,
Right?
um, I think, well, okay, if we're gonna play that game, I think you gotta have really good candy. So I think you
Yeah.
have to, we've taken the kids out and we've gone back, and I'm a little bit, I can be a little bit of a snob. I start looking in the bag and I see what the kids got. I remember the house that gave like a full size Snicker bar, a full size candy bar.
Ooh.
You get, you get extra points for that. If you're still giving out, pecans and nickels and stuff like that, and the orange and black candy that you can't even get off the wrapper. Boo, boo.
Oh man. So that was where my marketing failed. I should have been giving out
Exactly.
large
Yeah,
size Snicker
yeah,
bars and honey buns.
yeah. You got to
Oh
get the
God.
you got to get the you got to get the good candy and then attach it. I have seen some of those. I don't know that I've ever done that actually. I see it all the time. We get hit with all kinds of different marketing. I see a lot of agents that do that. Maybe I give that a shot this year and see where it goes. And it's always got some really corny tagline on there of
Yeah.
like, it would be a treat to sell your home. Okay, that's so
Yeah.
original. Yeah. So please do that so I can make fun of you for the rest of the year after you do that. And
Will do. Will do.
and it
That's
goes down in
hilarious.
flames. So let's talk about, we talked last week about mortgage rates and what was going to happen. We were excited. I think everybody was excited, and there was this big deal that made these videos about how the Fed finally cut the rates, and
Yeah.
we're just like, oh man, the markets are going to just catch fire. And what happened?
Yeah. So what I've learned about this is two things. So the Fed rate cut of 50 basis points really equates to the banks. The banks see that discount on
Mhm.
the rate that the Fed charges them. And now the question is, will that translate from the bank to consumers? Well, for all intents and purposes, no, it will not. But
Wah, wah.
there's a, I know, but the reality is, for 4 years, no cuts, and for them to emphatically show this enthusiasm about taking a cut. And as you saw, yeah, we talked about it. Everybody talked about it. I think that there's positive momentum that's telling all the buyers that are on the bench, you know, they're waiting for Cowboys to win, and they're just waiting and waiting. Well, that rate cut, showed a very small glimmer of what's to come.
Mhm.
And there's two sides of it. One is there's going to be more further cuts, for the rest of this quarter, which will help actually benefit the buyers and sellers who are refinancing or going under a new mortgage. The other side of it is, which is not so great, is the suggestion that the rate cut was part of a concern that we're behind on the potential unemployment numbers that could be
Mm,
rising. Now, here in Florida, I had just learned that Disney is doing a massive layoff. They're trying to save millions of dollars. I'm
mm,
not sure what the timeline of that layoff plan is, but they're doing it because the attendance is down.
mm,
So, all their tricks to get people in the door is just not enough, to
mm.
keep their profits healthy. So, you know, we got to stay positive here, right? We don't want
Yeah.
to be doom and gloom, but
Mm,
we'll see what the Fed chief does in his next announcement next month or the month after, because as long as they keep dropping them incrementally, I think
mm,
it's a positive indication of what's to come for buyers. And
mm,
let's face it, uh, would you rather be 6.5, 7% or five? I mean, if we can get a 5% mortgage on
mm.
conventional or even FHA, that should really drive a lot more buyers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
know,
saw something the other day about similar to that, where there was an economist that were saying that they're starting to see, pushback from the general public, regarding the costs of everything. And I don't know what that means exactly as far as pushback. I mean, it could mean that simply like what you're saying in the case of Disney or, extracurricular type things, you're just not spending the money on that you normally would. That disposable income that you would go to the movies or take your family to the theme park. But I mean, I don't know. I don't. I go to different different venues. We have kids. We go to different. We've gone to theme parks and things like that. I don't see it necessarily as far as a huge, it's not, we're not walking through these parks alone. There's still big crowds and
right?
things like that. We go to the movies. Now, do we go on a Tuesday? Yeah, because it's Tuesday discount day. So it's only like $5 or $6. So yeah, I'd rather go there if you're taking a few
Exactly.
kids because I know I'm going to spend, 30 to $50 roughly on, popcorn, my treats that I have to have with me because who can go to a movie and just watch it, alone? What am
True.
I, a psychopath? I can't do that. So I need a lot of treats with me to take with me.
Seriously.
So I do see some of that pushback with that. So I think that's always going to be just on the extracurricular type stuff. But it is interesting, like you say. It seems like, like you said, the banks are kind of keeping that. So hopefully we'll see some adjustments, pretty soon. What are you seeing in your area as far as housing prices? Are you seeing prices start to come down or adjust at all, or what are you seeing in your area?
Yeah, we are seeing more price reductions.
Mm,
And I think it's a byproduct of sometimes agents don't have the fortitude to start at the right price level with their sellers. Sellers have this expectation they want this, and it's really up to us to really convey what the correct price point should be, so we don't
mm,
have to have a lot of price reductions.
yeah.
But yes, I am seeing a lot more of these messages come in from agents saying price reduction or correction. You know, or due to seller concessions, price drop,
Mhm.
so that is a little bit more common here in Central Florida that I'm noticing. And real quick before I drop pass you back the mic, I was just checking out that Universal and Disney World have reported a downturn in attendance to their theme
Mm.
parks this year,
Really?
because um, prior year, Disney alone, Magic Kingdom was seeing over 17.7 million visitors. That's crazy, which is below pre-pandemic years, right? So we're still trying to recover, from
Mhm.
an economy standpoint. But yeah,
Yeah, but
so
I
you
mean,
seem like, go
depending on
ahead.
how many depending on how many kids you depending on how many kids you have though, and I mean, you're going, you know, that's costly. I mean, that's pretty costly. I mean, and that's
It
just if
is.
even if you're doing it's very difficult to do a day trip even from where I'm at in Northeast Florida. It takes me about 2 hours to get to your area. But if you go there, early in the morning, you spend the day in a park through that evening. It's tough to kind of make that trip back on the same day so you don't have to add in the cost of a hotel and additional food and things like that. So
Well,
um
especially the great news that you have to share. You haven't shared it with our audience. You're gonna have
okay, okay, yeah, yeah, speaking of addition, I will share that. So I have been blessed to be a grandfather. My son and his wife, they did the gender reveal party last week, and it's a boy. So yeah,
Hey.
I was, crying like a girl, it's just so ridiculous, so ridiculous. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, I can hold it together. And I didn't, he kicked the football and the blue powder came out and I was, I'm weeping, I'm laughing. It was a mixture of uncontrollable emotions. So,
And
but,
I got the proof. I got the evidence right here.
let's hold on to that. Let's just hold on to that. Let's hold on to that. But no, it was a lot of fun. I look forward to that. They're due January 25th, so it'll be here. The baby will be here before you know it. So it's a different chapter in their lives and in mine as well, as far as that a grandchild. Yeah, it's hard to wrap my head around that, but yeah, it's gonna be fun. We're looking forward to it. Yeah,
That's
definitely.
awesome. Congratulations. And
Um,
get your money ready for an additional Disney ticket.
exactly, exactly. So I think I think again, kind of talking about the rest of the year and kind of what that's gonna look like. Um, I'm getting on the selling side, I'm getting some sellers that are looking at their listing if it's not getting the sufficient activity, and they're starting to wonder, okay, what should we do? Everyone has their tipping point of, okay, do we keep it on the market, do we make price adjustments on it, or do we go ahead and just say, okay, hey, we're going to table this right now and wait until the beginning of the year. What I tell sellers is that there are definitely fewer buyers in the market, I think, during the holiday season. But I think the quality of that buyer is definitely higher. In that, if you're out looking during the holiday season, you're probably pretty serious about buying something.
Yeah,
And
great
there's some
point.
advantages to that. You can go out and you can, maybe you're looking to buy a property to file homestead, so you do have to own that by the end of the year. So that's a point. I think up until you get to probably the first week in December, the slowest time period for me here is going to be, December 10th through the end of the year. Because at that point, once you've passed that first week, probably pretty difficult unless you're paying cash to go ahead and close by the end of the year. So at that point, I do see a lot of sellers that'll kind of pack it in and say, okay, buyers rather, there we're gonna wait till the end of the year. And then same thing at that point, though, what we're working on is on the selling side of properties that are going to go into like a coming soon for the last couple weeks of the year, and then start out January 1 with some new inventory to maybe beat that spring push that we have. Because I think next spring, I think it's going to be a lot better than what it was this spring. I anticipate rates will be lower than what they were this past spring. So I think that's definitely gonna help. So I wanted to talk real quick about a situation that happened this week, and we've talked about before on here about um, cash buyers, and we both come from that world where we've worked directly with companies that make cash offers on properties. We both work for OfferPad. We've got experience on seeing how some of the other companies like Open Door do that. So I ran into a situation within the last couple of days, and it was a seller. They're out of the country. They own a property here in Northeast Florida in St. Augustine, and they were approached by an investor. So they submitted their property to OfferPad to have them generate a cash offer. And OfferPad initially said they couldn't do it because their property was on the market. So if you out there, if you know this or not, if you're trying to solicit a cash offer, you can't be listed on the market on the MLS when you do that. Because if you were, then that would obligate the company to pay that particular brokerage commission fees, which they can't do that, or they won't do that. So the property has to be what they call off market. So her situation was such that she got a cash offer from this buyer, or from this investor rather, and they placed the property on the multiple listing service without her knowing it. Seemingly, she asked me. She said, "I told her, I said, well, your property's on the MLS right now; it's active." And she said, "I didn't see it on there." And I said, "No, it's definitely on there." And she didn't recall signing anything. So I took a look at the contract, a very basic contract. It wasn't anything that was written through our local board. Looked like a pretty kind of a custom, probably unique to that investor, and it was a very one-sided contract. It was basically a contract that she signed that they were going to give $100 deposit, $100 deposit on a $590,000 purchase. Which, if that doesn't sound all kinds of alarms and raise red flags, then I
Right.
don't know what does. And
Exactly.
so, in other words, folks, if that happens, if that transpires, then basically that buyer can walk from that deal over a sawbuck, over $100 that they can take off and they can leave. So that was part of it, and then also it had a provision in there that simply said, we're going to act as the attorney in fact for you on this property, and we have the right to list that property on the open market, through a brokerage, to sell the property for a higher price. So in that scenario, they were offering like maybe a 590, I think. They put it on the MLS at like 630,000, and then we're going back to her and asking for further reductions in price, so they could get the property at a lower price, and then ultimately end up making about 50 grand for doing nothing. So just beware out there if you're a seller. That I know the thought process a lot of times, especially in the last few years as these companies have become more popular, is that, hey, I don't want to go onto the open market. I don't want to do showings. All of those things that these companies have said, you don't want to do. I don't want to do any of that either. I just want the cash purchase. The cash purchase, and I'll let you talk in a minute and give me your thoughts on it, is not what it used to be, the last couple of years. The last couple of years, and 3 years, I guess, 2020 is when we started. We were with OfferPad. Around that
Right.
time period, we were seeing, at least I was seeing in this area, 20% differential on where the cash offer was versus where the open market. And now I'm seeing closer to 30 to 40% is the swing, as far as 30 to 40% less.
Right.
So let me put that in simple math for you. If that's $100,000, that's the property could sell for on the open market, then that means you're willing to take 65,000, or
Yeah.
maybe 70,000 for it. And I don't care what kind of equity you've got in there, you know, do a little bit of work with it. Just, take the time, find a good agent within your area that you can work with. And I know people say, well, I don't want to pay real estate fees. Well, there's fees associated with those programs as well, because ultimately that property has to go back onto the market. So those fees are with those programs as well. And I'm not saying that they're all bad. Sometimes it fits your situation where, maybe you want to buy another property, but you need this one sold and you don't have that time. And that's what I hear a lot. But take the time. Take the time to get your property sold, and get the most you possibly can. But at the same time, make sure it's in good condition, so where you can maximize that value. Don't think that you can just put anything out there and it's going to sell, because it won't, because it's always going to be price, condition, location. But it's your job, if you can, to make sure it's in as good a condition as possible to put it out there. Don't just think that you can just throw any property out there and get it sold. So that's my rant and my soapbox. What are your any similar instances or opinions on that?
Yeah, yeah. Let me stretch. Oh, that was long.
Oh, it's going to be
No,
a good one. Lining up.
no. Yeah, I think that that's unfortunate because a lot of times these clients will choose to go the fast route and not hire a realtor, and they think this investor sounds like the McCoy, has the best objection handling script ever, and it's so easy. 1 2 page agreement. Oh, this is easy, this is great, and it bites them in the ass. And two sides of this, which is unfortunate. One, the real estate industry got handed to them with the NAR lawsuit across the country, but the reality is no one's paying attention to these kind of shenanigans that go on with investors. They're the ones who are giving the industry a bad name and really taking credibility and equity from homeowners.
I agree.
I have a client, a former client who's also a family member, and we talked last night, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm ready to sell this home." He lives in Palm Bay area, and shout out to my uncle, my Tio Julio. And, in fairness to him, he's now a seller. He doesn't want to pay a realtor fee. He didn't mind the buyer fee, right? Because he didn't have to pay it back then. And
Right.
so he's talking about, yeah, and they're in a retirement community. And, they all have the answers. You don't need a realtor, just get a title company, get the buyer, figure it out. He's 72 years old. And I'm just like, yeah, well, you could do that, but you get what you pay for, right? So if you mess up on some detail, well, that's your fault, right? You chose to cut corners. So you have to be happy with whatever. If you make an extra dollar, great. If you lose $5, that's on you, you
Hmm.
know? And he's like, well, that's why I got you for. And I'm like,
Hmm.
my friend, we don't work like that anymore. I mean,
Hmm.
the days of freebies and doing a lot of work representing someone for free is just gone with the lawsuits and the changes in our rules as agents. Um, and I'm just like, you have to think twice about, you don't show up at court without a lawyer, right? And he's like, well, but they have the legal aid, the free legal aid. And I'm like, what does that get you, right? Most of these people, if you watch movies, the legal aid they get provided with straight out of school. They don't have a lot of experience. They didn't really
Hmm.
practice and study for your case. You're going to jail. I've been watching too much TV. I was looking at a Prison Break. I'm in season 3 of the show. You know, but it's yeah, it's unfortunate. Cutting
Yeah.
corners will bite you in the rear.
Yeah.
So
It just what it tells me, and when I hear that, and I went by the property today and I took a look at it because they were telling her things like, well, we did a further inspection. Now so I love that. We did an inspection, but then we did a further inspection and determined that we need to drop the price even more. So
yeah,
we initially asked, we said, okay, we're going to give you 590,000. Then we came back and we said, no, we're going to only give you 570. And then after further discussion, we feel like we're going to need to drop that down even more. And I just felt like she just really didn't know what she signed. And it tells me, it just speaks volumes to me about as many times, where's my camera? Let me look directly into the camera. As many times as I hear, I don't need an agent, I sold it through an open house, I did this. You need an agent. Trust me, you do, because of things like this that are out there that you don't understand. I can read a book, I can watch 1,000 videos on brain surgery, but it doesn't mean I can go out and do it. Period. You
Right.
know, you need an agent to represent you in the transaction that knows what they're doing. I know you don't want to pay fees. No one wants to pay fees. If I go out and I could get something for free, that'd be great. But typically, it's not worth what it is if it's free. So go out, find a good agent. You know, use Trevin if you're in his market. Use me if you're in my market, or just find a good agent and let them do their job and let them actually work for you. And in the end, you're gonna make more money. You're gonna make more money than you will lose. Than taking a chance on doing things yourself that you really don't know what you're doing. And I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm not trying to talk down to anyone, but I just know from conversation after conversation that I have with buyers and sellers, you think you know what you're doing and you think you know what you're getting into, but you really don't. In a lot of cases, you really don't know what you're doing. And that could not be more evident than what her situation was. We'll probably put that property on the open market for her. I did an evaluation today, and open market for that property in its current condition, because it's a little bit of a fixer upper, is probably around 650.
Hmm.
That property, if it were in pristine turnkey condition, could probably sell for close to 800,000. So basically,
Wow.
what someone's doing is they're trying to take her equity and buy that property for as low as they possibly can, not do anything to it, and then turn back around and flip it. I guarantee she'll make 50. Now, will she have to pay fees? Of course, there are fees
Of
involved in
course.
that. There are fees that are involved in that. And even with the new rules with compensation, if she decides to co-op on the buyer agent side, I guarantee she'll make 50 to 75,000 more in this scenario than what she would have if she accepted that other contract or went forward with it. And she was getting to a point where she couldn't anyway, because just the numbers didn't work. She said, if I have to reduce it any further, I won't be able to pay the mortgage off on it. So, um, anyway, again, I'll step off the soapbox, but that's just my opinion. So you want to close up with the Kiss Mary Kill segment?
Yes, yes, let's do it. So
Oh yeah.
today
So yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
we're going to get into Kiss, Mary Kill. And this is a segment that we love and subscribers like yourself love. So today's topic is going to be around short term rental investments or long term buy and hold properties or a overpriced fixer upper.
Hmm.
So my thoughts on this is, and mind you, the overpriced fixer upper is,
Mhm.
we're going to categorize it and clearly say it's a high risk with low immediate return. Okay. So with those caveats in place, it makes this a real easy home run. I
Yeah.
think that in my case, I would certainly kill the overpriced fixer upper. I think that in our market, it's given that it's a little on the slower side, it's
Yeah.
already overpriced. And
Hmm.
the golden rule is you make your money on the buy, not on the sale. So
Hmm.
you bought high, that's a bad idea to just try to fix it and flip
Yeah.
it. So I'm
Hmm.
going to kill that puppy. And then
Hmm.
short-term rental investments. I just think that 2024 has not been a good year for this market. I will kiss the short-term rental on the cheek, not on the pecker, but on the cheek. And that's a short date. I'm escorting you home. Um, but I'm marrying to the bitter end, the long-term buy and hold. It's stable, it's reliable, and even in down markets where it might be slow and that monthly rental income is pathetic, but at least you got a safe property for a family to enjoy and live in, and you can pay your bills. So I'm going to say amen to that and pass the mic back to you.
So I'm pretty sure I heard in that in that 2-minute response that you
You're
mentioned killing
timing
puppies.
me?
You mentioned killing puppies and kissing on the pecker. I'm pretty sure I heard both those things.
Wow.
Is my
Wow.
mic? I don't know if my mic is.
Wow. That
So,
I can't even comment. That's going to take us down the road of episode 8 on
so,
politics.
so Kiss Mary Kill for me. Definitely killing the overpriced fixer upper, for all of the obvious reasons. Not to get too involved, or go, too deep in your pocket as far as, spending unnecessary money on overpriced, properties like that. Although I will say that in the current market, I know you have a lot of experience in this in the investment side, is that, you know our market's changed quite a bit, even with the investment inventory that's out there, and the prices are a lot different. I think, because the investment market was so good over the last few years, there's opportunities that come out there now that they really are just overpriced in comparison to what they used to be. And I don't know when that market's ever going to get reset. If it does, we have properties in our area here literally that sell for maybe 150,000, that are viewed as fixer upper, investment type properties, that 3 years ago, those same properties you could have bought for $30,000,
Mm.
which it's just insane. So that ship has sailed on that. So the kiss and marry, short-term rentals versus long-term buy and hold. I've always been a fan of the long-term buy and hold, so I would definitely marry that. I'm more of a fan of, as opposed to flipping a property, buying a property and then holding on to it for long-term income, down the road. Flips can be great. They can be, you can get a lot of money in those in one shot. But they can also, I've seen the other side of that with some customers where it's been kind of risky, where they bought property that they thought they were going to be able to turn around and make all this money, and they barely kept their shirt on in the deal, and were able to just break even on that, as opposed to, that long term, steady hold, which is obviously good if you can get the property at a price point that you're cash flowing immediately. Obviously, that's great. Some cases it's not, but that would be better. And then short term, just a kiss for them. So yeah, that's it for me. That's all I've got. What do you got anything else to close us out?
No, no, I think that this was a good episode, and wish everybody a great Friday evening and weekend to come. Enjoy it.
Yeah, same. Looking forward to the weekend, and next week. Next week we're already into, is it Tuesday? We're into October 1st. Is that it? Tuesday?
Yes,
Already into
sir.
October. So again, thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time of your day to listen. And we've provided some good information for you. Be sure to hit your like button, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Take care.